Hello, I am back home after Norway. Only just back home. I got back here at about midnight this morning. So I'm a bit tired, not slept that much. Didn't set my alarm this morning, I slept till 8 o'clock. So today I'm going to share with you new magazine design. Magazine arrival, I was away. All my yarn advents have arrived now, so I'm really excited about that. I made a little bit more progress on my Truly Hooked advent project from a year ago, and where I was knitting yesterday when I was travelling home. Talk a bit about what I finished while I was in Norway, which if you watch my Tuesday video this week you'll know, but I will talk a bit more about that and one or two other things. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through our website YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Leave me a comment. All that kind of stuff really helps me. Don't forget that I have 15% off all my online courses at the moment, so I'll put the details on the screen and it'll be linked below as well. You can choose between successful brioche knitting, successful lace knitting, successful socks, continental knitting, finishing techniques for knitters, and Scandinavian stranded colourwork and steeking. So 15% off until the 25th of November. I talk more about it later in this video, especially in relation to brioche knitting, and I'm also releasing a new pattern today, which I talk about at the end of the video, so make sure you don't miss that. So before we start talking about my trip back from Norway yesterday and what I've been knitting and all that kind of stuff, just a couple of quick notices. Next week on the 26th of November I'm teaching mosaic knitting at the Spinning Yarn in Bovey Trace in Devon. It's a really fun colourwork technique, which is much easier than, say, stranded colourwork or Fairytale knitting, and you get similar look but different look. It tends to be a bit more a textured look, but you can do some really interesting things with it, and you get to choose between a pattern for a scarf and a pair of hand warmers to work on in the class while you learn the techniques. So that's on Tuesday 26th of November at Spinning Yarn, Bovey Trace in Devon, just south of Exeter. Contact Spinning Yarn if you're interested. And then in December 6th and the 13th of December I'm teaching festive frolics at the Knitting Hotel in Dawlish in Devon. There was apparently a cancellation for one of those weekends, but I think that's gone now. If you're interested in Knitting Hotel and you're struggling to get in, because they do get booked up very quickly, then follow the Knitting Hotel on Instagram, because Belinda, who's the owner, she will share any vacancies that she has in her Instagram stories, and they tend to get snapped up very quickly. But they also do day guests, so if you're interested in coming for the whole weekend or just for the workshops, I'm teaching the workshop on the Fridays, contact Belinda. Their website is below. So if you go as a day guest, you do all the same stuff that the guests do, but you just don't sleep there. So there's a guest house, bed and breakfast place across the road where I stay when I teach 2 days there, but there's loads of other places as well in that area. And they have sometimes people who come for the whole weekend as a day guest. There was somebody there last time I think I was there, or the time before, who was there for the whole weekend as a day guest. And some people come just for 1 day for the workshop. That happened also. I don't think it was last time. I think it was the time before when I did 2 days. Somebody came on one of the days for the finishing techniques workshop. She was local-ish, so she just came for the day. So I'll leave their website below, and don't forget my Italian knitting retreat in Italy, near Ancona in central Italy, in April next year, week in a luxury boutique hotel. It's absolutely beautiful, and we're going to be knitting, doing some workshops. There'll be a retreat project and a goodie bag with some yarn and other goodies, and we are going to be having some excursions to explore the local area and food and things like that. So it should be really good fun. I will leave the website below. The exchange rate, if you live in the UK, is still really good. So the retreat is priced in euros. You book directly with Hotel Leone, where the retreat is being held, and they handle all the bookings and everything. So you pay in euros, and the exchange rate from the pound to euro at the moment is really good for us here in the UK. So at the moment it's cheaper than it might be if the exchange rate changes. If you book and pay it all now, you will save money compared to if the exchange rate changes. I noticed that when I was in Norway as well, the exchange rate is really good. It's the best it's been for years for us. Not so good if you live in Norway or the Eurozone and you're coming here on holiday. But for me going to Norway, things seemed cheaper than they have done for a long time. So let's talk about my new design. Knitting magazine, obviously a Christmassy issue. Beautiful sweater on the front. This arrived while I was away, and I haven't looked at it yet because I got home at midnight this morning. But so let's have a quick look at it. I didn't have before I sent my sample off, I didn't have time to film a video on it, and the sample hasn't come back yet. If it comes back in the next week, I'll probably do a separate video. I just had a bit of a sneezing fit, and then I choked on my water, so that's why I sound a bit weird. I put some essential oils in my diffuser back there, and I think they just made me sneeze, and then I choked on my water. So if I sound a bit croaky, my design here, that's my sweater called the Frost Fair. I knitted it in John Arbon Devonia 4-ply, and again, it's not overly Christmassy. I mean, if you did it in like red and white, it would look more Christmassy, but the motifs at the top on the yoke are not very, very Christmassy. Stranded colour work, all working around top down, I think, if I remember correctly. Circular yoke. So you do all the colour work first, and then you just cruise along knitting it around on the body and the sleeves, so fairly quick. And then they've used, do like this, the knitting magazine does this, they will use one garments to model other designs on. So you can see that model still has my jumper on, but they're modelling other designs. That looks quite interesting. Like a pom-pom cow. That's issue 256 of Knitting Magazine in the shops in the UK now. I think it came out last week. So let's talk about what I've been knitting in Norway. So I was wearing this earlier because it was a bit chilly in here this morning, but then sun came out and it warmed up quite a lot. And I'm quite hot now because I've been into town, I ran some errands, finished off in the supermarket, and it felt really cold today. It felt colder than it did in Norway, but it's only 7 degrees, but there's a really cold wind and very humid here, so it does feel colder than the same temperature in Norway, because Norway is a much drier country. But I've heard up country today, filming this on the Tuesday, I've heard upcountry Midlands area, I think they've got snow apparently, so I don't want any of that down here. I would have liked snow in Norway, but I don't really want snow here. So this is my jumper. I will try and take a picture of it and insert here, but let me just put it, actually before I put it on, let me compare it. So I knitted this jumper last year, and I knitted it on 3.5mm needles, and it's a bit kind of loose gauge. It's very light and airy. I think this one used less yarn than the new one, even though this one's a lot bigger. But I knitted it quite long and quite wide sleeves, and it is quite big and flowy. But I wore it a lot last winter, but like I was saying in the podcast I recorded before I went to Norway, it has really worn, and it just looks a bit too big and messy really. So let me just put it on quickly, just to see if I can show you. It's not ideal in here because I don't have a lot of space, so I can't really like get up and like parade in front of the camera, if you like. But it is quite baggy. The sleeves are quite big and it's quite long. I do still quite like it, but it does look just a bit worn out, and it doesn't look, I mean, I'd wear it in the house till it falls apart, but I haven't really worn it outside this autumn because it does look a bit worn out, and like I've torn a bit on the sleeve and things like that. So I re-knitted it last spring in this colourway, still on 3.5mm needles, and I've worn this a lot as well, but this hasn't worn out as much. This one I made the sleeves narrower and I made it shorter, and this one I worn a lot this autumn. So when I decided to re-knit the pink one, I decided to make it smaller. So basically I went down in needle size. I'm just going to check, because the original pink one feels bigger than this one. I'm just going to check if it actually is. Now I've got a version of this sweater I'm happy with. I will write up the pattern. So if I hold these kind of at the underarm, can you see how the pink one is wider? I don't know whether that's because I worn it a lot, because it has the same number of stitches, or whether I just knitted looser, I don't know. But I really like this. I lived in it last winter, wore it so much, out and about, in the house, lived in it. So it has got quite worn out. So I'm going to put that away again. This one as well, I worn it a lot this autumn. Finished it in the spring last year. I cast them when I was in Norway in March last year, March this year, and finished it, I don't know, March, April. So I didn't wear it a lot when I first finished it because obviously it was spring. But I worn it a lot this autumn. But I'm just going to compare width of this lavender one and my new pink one. So on the pink one, I went down from 3.5 to 3mm needles. So the gauge is much firmer, but it feels quite a bit smaller. Okay, so it's not a lot smaller, it's a little bit. So I actually have 20 stitches more on the body on this one. I think this one also might be a little bit shorter. Don't know, let's have a look. Yeah, it's a little bit, maybe that's much shorter. I do still have a bit of yarn left, so I can lengthen it. But one thing that struck me earlier when I was looking at this one and this one next to each other, can you see how the colour is slightly different? So it's completely different dye lot. I think that's what happened. So I bought the original yarn in September last year when I went to Norway, and I bought this yarn obviously in November this year. Well, I ordered it in October this year, had it delivered to my parents' house, and so that's the original. It's quite a different colour. I must admit I prefer that colour. So I don't know whether it's just a different dye lot or whether they've changed the colour slightly. But yeah, that's interesting to see. But I really like this. I wore it. I finished it on, well, I actually finished it yesterday morning when I was waiting to leave my parents, because I was up quite early and I'd finished the sleeves the day before, but I hadn't finished the neckline. So I finished the neckline while I was waiting to leave for the airport yesterday. This morning. I love it. It definitely looks much more even. So my knitting looks better, but that's just because I've got smaller needles. Looks a bit more dense. I did a neckline the same as on this one, except I did 2 rounds less. I don't know if that's that visible actually, because I feel like the neckline on this one is a little bit deeper than it was on this one. But I don't know, maybe it's not. Yeah, I love this colour. I feel like this kind of colour suits me better than this colour. I feel like brighter colour suits me better. They do some other really nice colours. They do like a sort of blue similar to this, which a little bit more blue, a little bit darker than that, I think, which I really like. They do really nice, like kind of bright blue, like a royal blue, which I really like. And I was very tempted to buy enough yarn for another sweater. This took 200 grams minus whatever that is. So between 175 and 200 grams. So it's not a lot of yarn, but I decided not to buy any more yarn in Norway. I can get in this country, there are shops in this country that sell it, and I have other things I need to be getting on the needles. I am going back to Norway at the end of February, I think. I haven't booked it yet, but that's what I'm thinking about. And I may do the same thing then, order it then and knit it then. Or I may knit it after Christmas. I got another sweater I'd like to knit. I need to finish my advent calendar project from last year. I've got some other small projects I need to finish over this week and next week. And I have another yarn for another sweater I want to knit. So I decided not to buy any more yarn for any more garments now. If you want to see the yarn I bought in Norway, and which is this, because I've just unpacked it this morning, and this, I talk more about that in last week's podcast, which you can find on my YouTube channel. This week's Tuesday video, I did a how much I knit in a week. I only worked on this project at the start of the week last Monday. I just done a couple of centimetres below the underarm. It's knitted top down, and I knitted the rest of the sweater, including the sleeves, in a week. The only thing I didn't get time to do was the neckline. The neckline I knitted on yesterday morning. I'm happy with it. It's a great sweater to travel with because it's fairly light and small. I put it in a compression packing cube to keep it contained. I don't like chucking things like this in like a tote bag or anything in case stuff gets caught on it. So I like to keep it protected, but I'm very, very happy with it. And now I have 2. I'm going to write a pattern up based on this sweater. I don't know how easy it is to see because it just looks so much more even. Okay, so let's talk about what else I've been knitting. So on the way to Norway, I cast them for a hat for Simon. I knitted a crown before I left, and then I knitted from I did a crown and a couple of rounds before I left. So I probably got to, let me see that marker, a few rounds below there. And then I knitted to there. So from there to there between my fingers on the day I went to Norway and the day before when I was travelling up to Wales to stay with my daughters for one night. And then I didn't touch this at all in Norway, so on the way home yesterday I knitted that bit. I was hoping to be able to finish it. In fact, when I was on the plane, when I got on the plane, I thought, oh, what did I do if I finish this? then I'm not going to have anything to knit on the train ride home. So I was trying to work out whether I would be able to pop into a yarn shop in London on the way. I thought, have I got time to go to Beautiful Knitters in Pimlico? It's not on my route between the two train stations I was travelling between in London. And I didn't land till like 4 o'clock. So I thought by the time I get into central London, it'll be about 5:30, or about 5:20 I got to Liverpool Street, I think. So I thought I'm probably not going to be able to go to a yarn shop because they'll probably be closed. But I was thinking Liberty, which is near Oxford Circus, I think they sell yarn. I was thinking, I wonder if I got time to get on the regular tube rather than the Elizabeth line. I stop there and get off, go to Liberty, buy some yarn. And then I got my tape measure out and I measured how much I had to knit. And I thought, I'm nowhere near finishing this. I'm not going to finish this tonight, so don't bother. So let me just see how much more I got to knit. So I have got to knit about another 8.5 centimeters. I've got to knit before I can do the crown decreases. So this is a double layer hat, so if you think of that as being the inside, and then this, so if you think of that as being the inside, and this folds over the top, and then this goes all the way up and is shaped at the top, so it's like a double layer hat, and you can wear it either way. I knitted Simon one last winter, which he wears a lot, so I decided to knit him another one. This is going to go in his Christmas stocking. He does know about it because he chose the yarn, but I'm going to put my marker where I am now so that I can show you next week if I'm making any progress. But this will probably, this week at least, just be an out and about project, which probably means I won't work on it till this weekend. And if you go out and embroider this weekend, I will take it with me. I knitted on it yesterday at the airport in Oslo, on the little bit on the plane to London, but I did fall asleep because I hadn't slept more than like 3.5 hours in the night. I did fall asleep quite quickly once we were airborne. And then I knitted on it a bit on the train into London, and while I was waiting at Paddington Station, and then a bit on the train on the way home. But by the time I was on the train home, I was tired and fed up, and I was struggling to feel motivated enough to knit. I probably should have just put my knitting down and got my Kindle out and read a new book I downloaded. But I didn't do that. I was listening to podcasts and scrolling social media and trying to knit, but I was struggling a bit with my motivation. Today I have been working on my advent project. So this is a Truly Hooked advent calendar from last year. I don't know how many colours I got left. I actually thought I got a bit further than this. I think I said in the Tuesday video that I was 3/4 of the way through. I'm not. I'm only just past the midpoint. So that's how far past the middle I am. So I've got like all that to do. So I've got 2.5 sections left to do, and each section is, I don't know how many rows, but about 32 maybe or something. So I do have quite a long way left to go. I worked on it a bit today on my break this morning and my break at lunchtime, so I'm going to work on this afternoon and evening. I do need to work on something else as well because I'm teaching a workshop on Friday, sock knitting workshop, and I can't find all my little sock samples. They're kind of about that kind of size, but I have one that shows different types of heels and toes, and I can't find it because I haven't taught this specific workshop for a few years. So I need to knit a whole bunch of little sock samples like this, just showing different afterthought heels and toes. And so I'm going to also take some sock yarn down with me today and start knitting on that this evening. Work out how many I need to knit and then divide them between today, tomorrow and Thursday to get them knitted. But I moved my marker up to where I am, so I can show you next week. Hopefully I will finish this by next week. My goal is to finish it sometime over the weekend, preferably finish it, block it and photograph it this weekend. Now, the pattern has been with my tech editor while I'm in Norway. She sent the first lot of edits back, which I had planned to go through in Norway, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't that easy to do it on my parents' laptop. So I've been working on it this morning, and once I finished filming this, I'm going to finish those edits. There are a lot more edits than I realised than I thought it would be. So I'm going to finish those now and send it back to my tech editor, and hopefully we can get ready to release it by the end of next week. But it is kind of borderline whether we can do that, but that's my goal. So let's see if we can get that done. Okay, so that's the knitting I've been doing. What else have I got on my list? Oh, my advent calendars have arrived. But first I'm going to tell you about this one. I wore it in Norway a few times. It's my Fairytale brioche scarf. I was umming and eyeing about whether to release this pattern first or this Mobius cow first, and I think I'm going to go for this one first. So I know brioche isn't everyone's cup of tea, but the reason I'm going for this first is because I do have 15% off all my online courses at the moment. Discount is valid until the 25th of November, which is early next week, I think. 15% off all my online courses with the code NOV24. I'll put it on the screen. You can choose from successful brioche knitting, successful lace knitting, successful socks, Scandinavian stranded colourwork and steeking, continental knitting and finishing techniques. So quite a variety. You keep indefinite access to the course. You can watch it and work through the course in your own time and at your own pace, and you can dip in and out and go back to it at any time, and I will be there to help you along the way if you have any questions. So because I've got a brioche course, I thought if I release this now, then if you haven't learned brioche, now this is not a beginner project, but there are a couple of easy projects included in the online course. So the online successful brioche knitting course takes you right through from complete brioche beginner. So all you need to be able to do is knit and purl, cast on and cast off, and I will show you all the brioche basics. And I recommend starting with the plain brioche project. My mum knitted my brioche headband while I was in Norway. Because I taught her brioche while I was in Norway. I meant to take a picture of what she knitted because she finished it over the weekend and I forgot to take a picture of it, which is annoying. But she also then cast on for my course brioche cowl. So the course brioche headband is only available as part of my online course, and if you take my in-person brioche beginners workshop, and then she's cast on for my brioche coarse cowl, my coarse brioche cowl, which is designed to match the headband. That is available on Ravelry and Payhip, so I'll link that below. And that's also free if you do the online course. This is knitted in a Kiviot lace weight. So one of the yarns is Kiviot and silk, and the other yarn is, I think it's Kiviot silk and merino, but I can't remember. But it is Kiviot lace weight yarn from Windy Valley muskox from Alaska, and I had two little tiny, I think they were 28.5 gram balls, lace weight yarn. I've had them in my stash for I don't know how many years. I don't remember when I got them, but I remember every few years I would get them out and think I really should knit something with this. But because Kiviot is not a cheap yarn, and you can knit this in other yarns if Kiviot is not in your budget, but I really want to use this yarn for something special because it's so precious. And this summer I thought, what about a brioche cowl? So this is a knitted flat. You cast on here, and then I've sewn it together at the end because it has that kind of curve, because the shaping in the brioche pattern creates that. And then you can wear it just loose around your neck like that as a long loop, or you can twist it and loop it over your head and then wear it kind of like that. I made this as long as I could with the two balls I had. I could have probably done another repeat or two, but I was knitting this when I was in Norway in September, and I wanted to finish it while I was on holiday. You can knit it with any lace weight yarn. So if you have little amounts left from shawl or something, you need 2 colours. So if you have any little bits left, you can use that. You can also knit it in 4-ply yarn on slightly bigger needles. I think I used 3.5mm needles on this off the top of my head, but I am already thinking about knitting it in 4-ply yarn. I've actually ordered a yarn from Truly Hooked? I think it's Truly Hooked. Saw it on Instagram over the weekend, and the mood board looked really pretty, so I ordered it, which is like a Christmas Day cast on box. So I am thinking about using that and a colour from my stash to knit a 4-ply version of this. But I wore this a lot in Norway. It's so soft. It's like cashmere, but even softer. But obviously, if you can't get your hands on Kiviot, or it's just way above your price range, which I quite understand, because there's no way I would buy. I mean, I'd buy this yarn if I had the money, but I wouldn't have the money to buy this yarn at the moment. My mum really liked it. She tried it on and she was very keen to keep it, but I was like, no, love you, but I'm keeping this because I absolutely love it. But if you have cashmere or alpaca silk, merino, any kind of lace weight or 4-ply yarn will also work fine. And it has beads. I wish I had gone for the lighter colour beads, so I used a different colour. So I used the purple beads on the lighter yarn and the lilac lavender beads on the darker yarn, and I wish I'd gone for the lavender beads all the way over throughout the whole project, because they are a bit more visible than these purple beads, but that's fine. So that pattern is available on Ravelry and Payhip. There is a launch discount which I will put on the pattern page. That'll probably be valid till the end of November. I usually do 25% off, and I will put Ravelry page and Payhip page below, so do go and check that out, and let me know what you think. And then this pattern will be out probably in a couple of weeks, sometime in early December, I think, depending on when I release the Advent pattern. This will be out at some point as well. Right, one more thing before we finish. So I shared before I went to Norway that my Discreet Unicorn Advent had arrived. Now I can't show you the box what's in it, but I've opened it just to see what's in it. But there's something on top that I don't want to spoil the surprise for anyone. So if you've got that, I chose I think it's Sparkly DK Merino. I also decided back in the spring to get a fibre advent calendar, because I was just getting back into spinning. Now I haven't actually spun anything since August. I have 2 bobbins with stuff I've spun, and I need to apply them in the next week and a half before December, because I have a fibre advent from For the Love of Yarn. 2 different theme things, and I think I chose, there was like a purpley pinky one, I think, mood board. I think the inspiration was called Tokyo Dreams or something. But that arrived while I was away, so there's nothing to spoil the surprise here. It did have like the it's wrapped in pink, what's it called, tissue paper, which was wrapped over the top. I ripped it off. It looks like it also has like a full skein or braid, I guess, of fibre for Christmas Day. So I'm going to tie this up again. The box has got slightly damaged, which I think I saw Lisa mentioning that on her Instagram, saying that some boxes had got damaged. I can't remember who it was who mentioned it, but I think it might have been Lisa. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to contact her about it because it doesn't bother me. I think she was saying about sending them out, sending out replacement boxes, but I'm not bothered about that. So it's just got a little bit damaged here. But I'm not bothered about that. I'm not going to ask her to send out a replacement box because I don't care that much. So there's an indie dye called Cool Woolings that I have been away for a while, but I've never ordered anything from her. I never really looked at her yarns that closely. And I saw her at YarnAddict. I walked past the stall a few times because it wasn't that far from mine. And I really liked her yarns. And then but I didn't buy anything. And then when I came back from YarnAddict, she posted on Instagram that she had a few yarn advents left. And I was like, So I went and looked, and the inspiration board was beautiful, absolutely stunning photos, and I was like, oh, I fancy that. So she did a choice between a 12-day one and a 24-day one. So with the other advents, I paid for them in installments. I didn't have to pay the full amount at once, but the full advent was quite expensive, and I thought I'll go for the 12-day one because it'll be a bit cheaper, as is a last minute thing. And so there are 12 little boxes like that, plus one bag. So I don't know what's in that little bag, but it's not yarn. Oh, there's 12, so there's one box, 12 boxes plus that, so that's an extra thing. Don't know what's in there. And then there's another thing in here which I'm not going to show you, but I may have opened this morning and done a little squeal because it's something I wanted for a long time, and I'm so excited, and I had no idea that that was included. And for me, I mean, that extra thing that's in here, retail value is probably about half the cost of the actual advent calendar. Obviously she would have bought it wholesale presumably, so it wouldn't have cost as much, but I'm really excited about it. It's not going to show reflection in my glasses, is it, because I'm just looking at it. I think it's so cool, and I can't wait to show you what it is. But I'm not going to show you now because obviously some people may have got this and haven't looked inside the box yet, so I don't want to spoil the surprise. But I will be sharing my advent calendars in my Vlogtober video. So I think for this one I went for the sock version, and I think I went for the sparkly, but I can't remember. So I got 12-day sock one, 24-day DK sparkly one, and then a 24-day fiber one. So lots to do. I'm glad I went for 12-day one with this because the sock yarn is more, 12 days is 12 times 20 grams is enough really for a project rather than a full 24-day one. But I'm really excited about that extra project as well. So my plan is for Vlogmas start on the 1st of December, which I think is on a Saturday. So that will be the first day. Vlogmas, the first video, will be out on that Saturday. I normally film a few days ahead. I'm not going to release a video every day. I'm going to probably follow the same format as I did for Vlogtober and release 3 videos a week, 2 Vlogmas ones and 1 regular podcast episode. So if a Vlogmas video isn't your thing, I will also be sharing a roundup of what I'm knitting in the weekly podcast episode. In the Vlogmas episodes, I'll show you what's in my advent calendars, and I don't know whether I'm going to cast on something with the 2 advent calendars straight away. I have an idea for the DK one, but it just depends if I got time to swatch. I'm actually thinking about doing some crochet, but I need to experiment and do some maths to work out whether I can do what I want to do with it. The spinning one, I am going to try and spin a bit every day. So, because I don't think I've got any deadlines in December, so I'm going to try and spin that every day, which will be interesting. So to make sure that my first video is ready to go out on December the 1st, which is a Saturday. So in Vlogtober, I release videos on Saturday, Tuesday, and then a podcast video on Thursday. So I'm going to follow that same format for Vlogmas. I need to have the first video ready to go on December 1st because that's a Saturday. So I'm hoping this weekend, that we can go out and do something a bit Christmassy. Maybe one of the National Trust properties near us that have a Christmas exhibition, so I can film a bit Christmassy content, and then I'll probably start opening my advent calendars middle of next week, so I can open a couple of days. No, so I can open the first day and show you what the first day is, and maybe start spinning the first day. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm excited. I'm glad I wasn't here when this arrived because I would have struggled to not share the surprise that's in the Cool Woolings ones, because I must admit the extra thing in there I'm very excited about. Right, this video is a lot longer than I thought it would be, and I need to get on. I finished editing this pattern, so we will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Leave me a comment. Tell me if you got an advent calendar this year. Have you had advent calendars before? Do you normally get a yarn advent? or do you not bother with it? Do you get any kind of other advent calendar? Let me know in the comments. I think a yarn advent is quite good fun. This is the fourth year, I think. I have seen some recently, some indie dyes in the UK showing that they got spares. So if you haven't got one, it's worth looking at their social media or going on their website and see if there are any spares. I've seen a few posting that they've got spares that are available for sale, because most of them will dye extras, so that if anything gets lost in the post, they've got extras. And I think I've seen a few people posting their spares. And the first one I actually got a few years ago was a last minute spare. It actually arrived, I think, like a couple of days before December. So that's how I got my first one. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.